Every 3 years, the best sailors on the planet compete in the world's toughest offshore challenge, the Volvo Ocean Race.
1, 2, go!
Tense.
For the 12th edition, 7 teams left Alicante, Spain, to cross 4 oceans and 5 continents over 9 months. It is the ultimate endurance test that all professional sailors dream of doing.
It's just relentless.
With a fleet solely composed of the Volvo Ocean 65, a boat designed to take on the most grueling offshore race. Crews are pushed to the limit in a competition that has never been closer. Battling 24/7, fighting storms, and defying the worst that Mother Nature can throw at them.
You get a beating out there.
Pushing the crews to a place where there is only a thin margin between winning the leg.
Fantastic, we're on top of the world. So proud of my team.
First win. Nice, very nice.
Or losing it all.
I can't believe this. I can't actually believe this happened.
This is their story. For the 5th stopover of the round-the-world competition, the Volvo Ocean Race is in Auckland, the city of sails. After a much-needed break, the teams are back on the water for the 5th in-port race. The in-port race results don't have a direct impact on the overall leaderboard, but will be used in the event of a tie when the fleet crosses the finish line in Gothenburg. The 6 boats set off in steady winds, with Leg 4 winner Mapfre at the top of their game. But soon, a tenacious Team SCA takes the lead. The all-female crew is sailing perfectly, leading the fleet for the rest of the in-port race and becoming the first team to win it twice. If the weather conditions were perfect for the in-port race, Mother Nature has decided otherwise for the start of Leg 5. A huge cyclone nicknamed Pam is on its way to New Zealand, bringing chaos in its trail.
It's a full-fledged Category 5 hurricane at the moment. Vanuatu is getting absolutely hammered, and the wind and the waves that are coming in there are of heights and surges that they've never seen before in those islands. For this region of the world, you're easily in the top 10 for worst storms that they've ever seen.
There's quite a big confidence that it will get very close to the northeast of the island by Sunday afternoon. What we still don't know, and different computer models disagree, is exactly how much it will impact the North Island. What I see is that there are many chances to have an extreme weather scenario in Auckland for Sunday afternoon. It's obviously a little bit silly to even talk about sailing.
Putting the safety of the crews first, Volvo Ocean Race management has to delay the fleet's departure. But for how long is the tricky question.
This image here is approximately the time when we would have normally started. And what you end up having is a very strong easterly flow pushing not only a ton of water, a ton of wind, and a really high sea state. The southeastern quadrant of a storm like this is typically the worst, and there's some sea state estimates that are showing over 20 meters in wave height. So sending the boats out into that was not going to be the prudent move. When you move forward 2 days and the storm's now past East Cape, it starts to lose its strength pretty quickly. If you wait too long to depart, the vacuum that's created in Pam's wake becomes pretty large. And you have the remnants of the next tropical storm, which is called Nathan, which will be also working to suck up some energy out of that area. So if you wait too late, you're going to be making this leg really long and really light. If you go too early, you're going to break the boats. So it's a really fine line as to when they send everybody off.
During the next 24 hours, we will be meeting every 2 hours. With the latest weather model updates, we'll try to make the best possible decision.
With wind strength increasing, the race village has to be dismantled as quickly as possible. As the original day of departure arrives, Jack Lloyd, the race director, believes that race control is close to making a decision.
We're getting more and more confident about what's likely to be happening. We've been monitoring it now since we first discovered it, and all the computer models and the information we're getting has been on what may happen. And as the cyclone's getting closer, we're actually seeing the predictions matching up. So now we can treat some of those predictions as a little firmer than what we could a few days ago. So hopefully later today we can predict a start time which will achieve what we want, which is to have the boats out racing, but not setting them into something that could be potentially very, very dangerous.
As Cyclone Pam finally hits Auckland, a decision is made that the race will start 48 hours later. Miles away from the storm, Team Vestas wind sailor Peter Vibro is back at home after being accidentally stranded with his team on a reef.
So this is Goshoved Harbour. This is the harbour where I learned to sail and where I grew up and where I played around more or less every day. Me and my friends, we have a wooden boat. It's actually this one. Look at this. Hey, isn't she a beauty? It's quite a contrast to the VO65s, I must say. But we've had a lot of fun in this boat, that's for sure. It doesn't go as fast, but it does it with style. Det var okay. Goddag. Hej, hej.
Velkommen til Sorgen. Kom ned til.
Ja, det kunne gå roligt galt. There are a lot of local supporters, so happy to hear the news that we are getting back in the race again. Everybody knows everything about the story, sometimes even more than me, so they're pretty much into what's going on, so it's good.
Being back in Denmark means that Peter is also returning to school.
While I'm back here, I could just as well do some work, I thought, so I've kind of taken up my old work, which is my good old PhD project. It has missed me, I think. So I'm back doing a bit of writing on some of the manuscripts. My PhD is in pharmaceutical sciences. We are developing nanoparticles to improve the efficacy of existing drug compounds. So we are encapsulating drugs in these nanoparticles and try to improve the properties of the drugs, basically. I've always been kind of doing both my studies and the sailing on a pretty high level. It has been quite hard, but I have somehow managed to get through both of it, doing both at the same time. When I told my mom what I was about to do with all this offshore sailing, I think she kind of knew what it was, but she didn't really have an exact idea of what I was actually going into and the risks associated with it. But I guess she found out when I hit a reef in the middle of the Indian Ocean. The guys on the boat knows that I'm doing some weird kind of stuff in a lab that probably will never see the world. Yeah, I don't think really they know what I'm doing. Some kind of nano thingy, and I think that's more than enough for them. It's two completely different ways of looking at nature. In the lab here, the things we're doing, we cannot even see it with the visual microscope. We need to use special microscopes in order to just visualize what we're doing. And out there, we look at the universe and at the stars that I've never seen before. So it's really in a much larger scale that you observe the nature out there compared to here, and I must say a bit more controlled environment in here than out there on the oceans.
Finally, race control has given the go-ahead, and the teams gather in Auckland Harbour for the start of Leg 5. For Sophie, Maria and all the other sailors, it's time to say their goodbyes.
We're always a bit worried at the starts, but now that the worst of Cyclone Pam is gone through, then it's a bit of a relief. But still, the mythical Cape Horn, so you do worry a little bit until they've been crossed.
For Maria's husband and Abu Dhabi navigator Simon, emotions have to be put aside as thoughts turn to the race.
We're going to want to stay quite close to the fleet because there's quite a lot of variability of what happens in the Bay of Plenty. And chances are, even if there's good pressure and we stay sort of outside the Mercury Islands for wind, we're going to want to cut back.
For those who've been in the Southern Ocean waters before, this leg brings back a lot of memories.
Right.
Best part and worst part of the Southern Ocean?
Getting into it and leaving it. Going north again, warm water.
Worst part is starting, best part is finishing. Rounding Cape Horn, well actually Falklands, because then it starts getting warmer. I hate getting cold.
It's a long leg, long at distance. Hopefully not too much time, but you never know. Didn't think it was going to be a long leg last time I did it, but it turned out to be about 33 days.
Judd, how many Southern Oceans is this going to be for you?
Too many. Need to get my head checked.
Not being able to sleep because my tootsies are so cold, and being on deck shivering with frozen hands that really hurt. And when the cold water hits your face, I hate that.
Are you looking forward to your return to the Southern Ocean?
Not really. Anybody says they are is lying.
It is the best sailing in the world. It's been long enough since the last time that the bad memories have faded away, leaving just the good ones. So I'm sure I'll be reminded of some of the bad times as well on this leg, but looking forward to the good times.
And for the ones who have never been there before, it's a mixture of emotions.
I think it's easy to get deceived by the conditions we have now at the start. You know, we got 6 knots of wind, but I'm excited. You know, it's something we've been looking forward to for a really long time. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous. Pretty big task we got ahead of us and something we've never done before. But it'll definitely be a lifelong memory, and I'm looking forward to experiencing it.
I've been excited for days, but then when the morning comes, I think kind of nerves and everything, and just knowing how far the journey is, like it just kind of tones things down a bit. You know, I'm really looking forward to just having the experience of doing the Southern Ocean, and you know, it's kind of like that big scary monster in the back of your head that you really want to confront and see what it's all about, and have that experience and have that to kind of look back on for the rest of your life.
Since the beginning of the race over 40 years ago, this has always been an epic leg, where the boats and their sailors dive into the southern wilderness where no other men go. Leg 5 leaves Auckland, New Zealand, and takes the team south through the roaring 40s, before rounding Cape Horn to finally head home north again towards Itajaí, Brazil. Over 12,000 kilometers in one of the most isolated places on the planet.
Leg 5 is what defines the DNA of the Volvo race. It means sailing in the most remote ocean on Earth, in the South Pacific, very close to the Southern Ocean, where the weather systems basically have no continents that can stop their movement. That makes the sea state to grow and grow and grow as the weather systems travel from east to west, and makes the conditions really hard. The wind speed average is quite high, but this is not normally the concern. What really limits your boat speed and the ability to push the boat is the wave height. Wave height is always the concern, and what is characteristic in the Southern Ocean and the Southern Pacific is that the wave height is not normally aligned with the wind. Sailors say that in the Southern Ocean you don't sail where you want, you sail where the sea state pushes you. One of the main challenges of Leg 5 is the amount of isolation. You have to keep in mind that 5 days after the start, they will be thousands of miles away from any landmass. If you had to manage any emergency procedure, things will be very, very challenging. Really, when something happens, the only one that can assist you is your competitors. I think every sailor that dreams about doing the Volvo race does that because is dreaming about leg 5.
Finally, after a 48-hour delay, the fleet is on its way. On board Azam, the crew is enjoying one last treat before going back to their freeze-dried packaged food.
Wendy, tell me a little bit about this team's obsession with fried chicken.
I can get the binoculars on Dong's Fang and just...
It's no obsession.
Position of the sails, height of the drop bolt.
It's just phenomenal.
Do you think there might be an addiction problem?
No, no. What is there? 11 secret herbs and spices? We've got 11 secrets too.
I've spent far too many years of my life eating freeze-dried food, so the longer I can keep away, the better.
Sailing along the rugged coast of New Zealand is also a treat.
Very nice to sail around New Zealand. The coast is very nice. It's good to start a leg like that, and I think it's good to be on the lead because the first guy who leaves the coast will catch a big wind first.
So now we just got Cape Colville behind us, and next is Eastern Cape of New Zealand, which is 150, 160 miles away, I think. And after that, it's Southern Ocean, and next time we will see land is South America and Cape Horn.
After months of preparing, the teams are finally facing what they dream of. Thousands of kilometers away, Team Vestas wind sailor Peter had to change his dream. But he's not giving up on a lifelong ambition.
So this is where my mom lives, pretty close to the harbor, just down there. I'm sure she has some embarrassing stories about me when I was a kid, so let's see if she has some coffee up there.
Sailing is in his blood.
Hi, Plysser. Hi, Maps. Hi. Hi. Hi.
I remember when he was only 11 years, he had to go to Japan. You remember that?
Oh yeah, that's a long time ago.
But that was scary for me, sending a little boy alone with 2 other older boys to Japan. And since that you have been all over the world, so I'm used to it.
I was on a vacation on a small island in Denmark, and I talked to Nikolai, and he had just talked with Nico. And so he told me about the project, and I was, of course, if I get the opportunity, I'll do it. It has always been a dream to be a part of it, and I was quite surprised to get the offer at that time, but it was kind of a no-brainer. It was a sure thing, let's do it. Getting the offer to sail the Volvo Ocean Race in the first place is a big thing. Getting the call from Nico is another big thing, and then doing it with Vestas as a sponsor, that's just a perfect combination. So it was really a big dream come true, and everything just fitted so nicely, so it couldn't have been a better setup, actually. Obviously, the first days after the incident, we were just happy that it went as it did, and we were all good and safe and back on shore again. Then, obviously, the disappointment came and the questions what to do and how to move on.
We were called and was told that all the boys was well, and that was, of course, the best we could hear. And then, of course, we went together, the whole family, and we was scaring and what will happen now, and when will we see Peter, when will we hear from him? But very short after he called us, and it was fantastic to hear his voice in the phone. Then we knew that he was alive and everything was all right.
When we left the boat that night, none of us really believed by then that even Coxie could get something good out of that. But now, luckily, we have a plan, and everyone have been so supportive from Vestas and Powerhouse and Volvo Ocean Race, and even our competitors have really been supportive. So because of that, we have a plan, and we can start, instead of thinking about what happened, we can actually start to look ahead and see how we can get back into the race. The only thing we actually can do now is to stay fit and strong. So that's what we're doing every day, basically. it feels good to at least be able to do something that kind of feels right and for the purpose of the racing, although it's not much right now, but the other guys are accumulating so much experience out there, so they will be on a different level when we meet them. So the only thing we can do is to be in good condition and be fresh, whereas they have, hopefully they might have burned out a bit because of all these hard legs, so that might be our advantage. Suddenly the race has become much more than just being a personal thing to do well. I think we all feel like we are doing this for a bigger cause now. There are so many people who have invested so much and risked so much for getting us back and believed in us. So now we are sailing more for Vestas and for the race than we are sailing for our own sake in some way. Firstly, we are racing to get back into the race, and then we will do everything we can to hopefully make some good results on each of those legs that we can sail.
For Peter and the rest of his team, the fight is not over, as they're expecting to rejoin the competition. Back on the water, skippers and navigators are upping their games, and tactical maneuvers are in motion. Whilst Team SCA, Abu Dhabi, Dongfeng and Mapfre decide to go south, Team Brunel and Alvi Medica initially head east before the fleet comes together again, seeking stronger winds in the wake of Cyclone Pam.
Chasing ex-tropical cyclone Pam, and so we've got a pretty rugged sea state in behind it. The question is whether you can stay in front of this high and stay on starboard and continue in a nice curve down to the south, or whether the high threatens to roll you and you have to tack south. So we're throwing our eggs into the northerly route, trying to go as fast as we possibly can. We're pushing pretty hard and see how it pans out. It's pretty complicated, there's lots of lows ahead, but the first challenge is try and stay on the back of Pam and avoid the high.
For all the teams, sailing conditions are pretty wild.
So stage 2 on leg 5. We've had a good night on Team SCA, leaving New Zealand behind us and heading out into the Southern Ocean. It's been good sailing, quite a light start, and then the breeze picked up. Last night, and now we're fast reaching, and it's really good.
Every team has some rookies who have never sailed in these waters, but especially on Dongfeng, and for the Chinese sailors new to offshore racing, this is a real baptism of fire.
Are you happy to be here? Yes. Are you happy to be here?
I just want to say yes, but after the big wave, I don't want to say yes. But still, yes, it's a good challenge. Because I've never been to the Southern Ocean, so it's a really big challenge for me. And now we are going to the east. I hope I can manage it.
With many days ahead in harsh conditions, the fleet knows that anything is possible. But in these waters, the priority of looking after the boat and equipment is crucial to survival. Next week, Team SCA needs to fix their radar to avoid sailing blind. And life on board gets very tough as the Southern Ocean bares its teeth.
That's what you call a Chinese jive, licking our wounds now.